There can be many factors that can lead to cancer, but what we do tend to see as a correlation is a higher prevalence of men eating meat. There's nothing wrong with eating meat. You can fit meat into a healthy diet. But when we're eating more processed meats, deli meats, pork products, hot dogs, um, that can really that's shown to raise our risk of colorectal cancer. And so I think those are two things that I really want men to focus on. And what can you do about it is I'm all about introducing more foods into the diet, right? So however we can make it seem more appealing to have more fiber. Fiber can help decrease blood pressure, decrease your risk of colorectal cancers. And actually newer studies want men to eat up to 38 grams a day. Now, that's a generalization. I could break it down by age group, but that is a new recommendation because we see those higher risks of colorectal cancer in men.
Wow, thank you, Camille. It continues to highlight this is information. If you are a man listening to this is information that you need to hear. Our panelists are giving these nuggets that are truly life saving, right? Life extending. And as we talk about, nutrition and we talk about mental health, nutrition is a huge component. And then how we move, how we get our bodies in motion and going. And we can consume calories, but we also have to burn calories, right? We have to eat right, but we also have to make sure our body is moving. So I want to bring Akeem into this conversation a bit more and really talk about you are the guru, right? I used to look like you back in 1979, right? So I'm working my way back to shape. Right? So why is movement so important for men's health, both physically and mentally, sir? Why is that movement and that exercise important?
Well, you know the saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. So, in today's society, with a lot of, uh, no diss to any of you, but I'm standing, you all are sitting. This is what we do a lot in today's society is sit for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I looked at some research a couple months ago. They said the average American gets about 3 to 4 thousand steps a day. That's low. Typically, we want to. I tell my clients shoot for 7,000, 8,000 steps a day. If you go for a 30-minute walk, you're probably getting anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000, depending on your pace, on how fast you're walking. So that if you have legs, that's the number one thing to do is to walk. Uh, Second thing is strength training. So if you want to build muscle, maintain muscle, you want to strength train a minimum of 2 times a week. A lot of people think they have to train every single day, 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week. I tell my clients 2 to 3 times a week, get you where you need to be as long as you're, exerting yourself outside of your comfort zone. That looks different for every single person. Okay. Camille, when she came on, she said she's a runner. I'm not a runner. So you won't catch me running down the street or anything like that. Don't invite me to run with you. I'm going to tell you no. All
Now, hold
right.
on. No, I don't know about a runner, but I went on a run. So
Okay.
there's a little bit of a difference.
That is a difference.
I'm
That
trying to
is a
train for
difference.
this 5K next weekend.
Yeah. I like to drive those. Yeah, but just research coming out, how strength training is beneficial to bone density. It says, people over 60, number one cause of a injury is slipping and falling, not being able to catch yourself. So I have a lot of clients who now have grandchildren. Had one client told me 3 weeks within training, she has been training in like several years, and she said this might sound embarrassing, but one of the main things that I noticed that's different is getting up and getting on and off the floor with my grandchildren. So just
Wow.
little things like that, and not thinking of like, the aspect of I want to look better. Yes, we all want to look better. We want to, but the main thing I believe that a lot of people want to do is they want to feel better. And one thing when it comes to feeling better is you have to describe that. You got to put it in words on like how do you want to feel? Like how do you want to feel when you wake up in the morning? How do you want to feel when you go to work? How do you want to feel when you're playing with your kids, your grandkids? How do you want to feel throughout your day? So those are some things that people can just put in the words. And once they put that in the words, get that clarity, then they can start taking action on, hey, what are the steps and the things that I need to do to actually feel this way consistently?
Yeah, King, that brings a great question up. I'm stay with you for a second here, right? So if I'm that person that wants to get physically active again, but haven't been to the gym in years, haven't really moved in a long time, what's those first easy steps you would recommend for someone who wants to reignite their fitness journey?
Start walking. Start walking. Start walking. That's number one. Just schedule it in. Put 15 minutes in your day, lunch break or after work, before work, whatever you got to do. 15 minutes. Just start walking. Do that consistently 2 to 3 times a week. Then start upping that every day. And then if you're someone who is like, I do want to get into some strength training, and if you're someone who's never done it, I always recommend getting some help from a personal trainer or a health coach. Not even working with them, but just asking questions. Because you'll go online, you'll see a lot of things online. And a lot of things online right now is you have to decipher that information. And for your everyday citizen, they don't want to spend the mental capacity to decipher what's best for them. So having that conversation with a health coach or a personal trainer is number one. And then, once you start strength training, I tell people this, it's accessible. Going to a gym or facility is accessible, and you don't have to pay hundreds of dollars unless you are working with a coach. But Planet Fitness is what, $10, $15 a month? It's accessible. Go there. Start hitting, go online, look up a routine, reach out to me. We got AI now. You can AI something. Is it going to be the best? Probably not. But is it going to get you moving and hopefully get you consistent? Probably will.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Akeem. And thank you for those who are joining us this evening for Man Cave Monday, a real talk conversation about men's health. If you are just tuning in, we've talked about mental health. We've talked about physical health. We've discussed why so many men say, I'm going to get to it one day, or we are stubborn about finding out why our bodies are not functioning the way they should. So this has been a real conversation. So thank you for tuning in. And along those lines, there are so many things that we just aren't aware of, or so many warning signs that we sometimes ignore, right? So, Doctor, I kind of want to come back to you on this one to really start to educate us around this. And I'll do Doctor and then Michael on this one as well. What are some common health conditions men ignore until it becomes a bit more serious that we can probably engage in sooner, but we ignore all of those warning signs? So what are some of those common conditions that men just ignore until it's almost too late?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. And just to piggyback on some of the things Akeem said, I will be contacting you, by the way.
I love it. Connections are happening.
So,
Ruth, yes.
Yeah. So about things that common health conditions that men ignore. I think one thing that's important for us all and men to understand that the fact that I may feel okay does not necessarily mean I'm healthy. I mean, the fact that I don't feel any pain or any this at this time, that kind of thing. And that may be some of the reasons why men want to just power through things and ignore warning signs about health. There are things in medicine we call silent killers. I mean, like things as basic as high blood pressure, hypertension. Now, what a lot of people don't know that hypertension as a disease does not have any symptom. No, it doesn't. I mean, which is difficult for some people to grasp because to them, they think they're just treating a number. But no, I mean, the pressure on your vessels, on your heart is having some negative effects that we're trying to slow down and we're trying to reverse by keeping that number within the normal range. When you start having symptoms with hypertension, with high blood pressure, That's a complication of the disease. The disease itself does not have any symptom, which can be a challenge. Type 2 diabetes, I mean, you did mention that, Jerry. I mean, in
Mhm.
your own personal journey. I mean, prostate cancer. I mean, those are things, a lot of things that people, I mean, ignore. We talked about colon cancer. Generally, the normal cancer screening for men, prostate and colon are big ones. And these are things that men, especially Black men, don't realize that we are actually at high risk for these things. I mean, and these are things that can be detected and can be treated. I would just end the question, I mean, with a story. I had a friend who reached out to me, and really what he wanted, you know, he knew I was a doctor, I was a friend. He just wanted a quick consultation. I mean, oh, I
Yeah.
have this. Can you prescribe this for me? Which I try to be careful about, because as much as I want to help, I mean, if I don't know the whole story, I haven't examined you, I don't know if there's something else going on. But I just realized this man was, I mean, getting to middle age, about my age, and hadn't seen a doctor in a while. I was like,
Mhm.
really should go and see a doctor. And it's interesting because, I mean, he had very good insurance. I thought his issue was insurance. No, he had very good insurance. He just felt he didn't have the time. I was like, use your lunch break. Go and just get checked up. You don't even have to miss
Yeah.
work. Use your lunch break. And thankfully, he took my advice. He used his lunch break. He went to see a doctor. He checked his blood pressure, 240 over 120. They told him,
Wow.
you are a ticking time bomb. Go to the hospital right away. He got to the hospital. They checked his labs. He was in stage 5 kidney disease at that time. He didn't know it. He was producing urine. He felt he was fine. He ended up in the ICU. I got a call from him. I'm in the ICU. I'm like, dude, how did this happen? But it didn't happen overnight. I mean, these
Mhm.
are things that had been going on. He had been ignoring things. When I went to, I mean, on further a deeper dive, I found out he was hypertensive in another state before he moved to where we were. And at some point, he finished his medications. He didn't go back to his doctor. He felt fine. So he felt everything was okay. So, yeah, the fact that you feel okay does not mean everything is okay. I mean, there's a reason why we say get checked up, have an annual physical in the very least, so that you can detect these things.
Wow, doctor, that is you hit the nail on the head, right? Just because you feel okay doesn't mean there's not a silent enemy lurking somewhere. So those annual checkups, the annual physical, regular doctor's appointment, dental appointments, all of those things are critical as early indicators. And when I really started to take my health truly serious, I'll be completely transparent and honest, about 10 years ago, right? I really started to take my health serious, and it was like, know my numbers. I needed to know my numbers of where I was on all of these health scales, and it was a game changer for me, right? Not just a game changer physically, but that game changer mentally, because I said I not only had to make physical changes and nutrition changes and exercise changes, but I had to make mental changes as well. Which, Ruth, this is so critical because you talked about this a bit earlier, right? In terms of trauma and stress and those pressures. Would love for you to lean into a bit of, what are some of those healthy ways men can process that trauma and that pressure and that stress, right? We hear about it, but what are some of those ways that we can actually process and make ourselves healthier mentally?
Right. Thank you so much for asking that question. I think really some of the things that we've been saying already here, I'll just highlight that because oftentimes we overlook the easy, simple, accessible things that we can do. And we think that it's such a big change that has to happen for us to begin to walk in health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, mental health. But really, some of those basics of eat healthy, eat regularly, really back in the day when I was growing up, and maybe that's not too far back in the day, but we could buy a burger from McDonald's for 99 cents. Now, eating fast food is not actually an economical decision.
Mhm.
You could just as easily buy something healthy from the grocery store. And so do that. Eat healthy and eat consistently. Sleep is so important. Oftentimes we're not taking the time to get adequate rest. And, you know, the Bible says on the seventh day, God rested, not because God needs rest, but because he wanted to model to us, your body needs rest. And I think a lot of times, you know, especially in this age of, you know, all these all these devices, people are scrolling as a means of rest rather than actually resting, like shutting off Facebook, shutting off YouTube at night. A lot of people get in bed with their phones or their iPads rather than just have quiet, be still, sleep. And so really making that decision to self-care in that way of getting proper rest is so important. Exercise, like Akeem said, just maybe going for a walk. Start there. And really, and then lastly, I want to say a community. Once again, we live in an age where we are isolating ourselves more and more from one another as we connect more and more to our devices. So there are real people, flesh and blood people in your community who you can build solid relationships with. I mean, I'm so glad that we can build relationships with people 10,000 miles on the other side of the continent, right? But those people in your community that you can actually see and touch and walk alongside and do life together with, that is so important for our mental health, our physical health, and our all around well-being.
Oh, absolutely, Ruth. I am in full agreement with that. And you touched on something that I think we could do a whole show about, right? Faith and health together, right? I think that's something we could do a whole show about. And I hope those who are hearing this now or those who are tuning in later to watch this, that you are pulling out something that matters for you, something that will make you healthier, something that sparks curiosity that you then say, I need to go and get a checkup. I need to speak to my primary physician, or even I need to find a primary care physician. All of those things are there, right? And this group is here to really help move you forward in your health journey. And with that said, we are coming to a close. So we have one final question that I want you all to answer. And I will start with Camille first with this final question. And that question is, what does being healthy mean to you personally? And what would happen if our communities of men truly prioritize their health?
Oh, pressure.
No pressure.
You know, it's a loaded question. Also, I just want to call out too, Jerry, if we have the time, if our panelists are open to it, someone left a really engaging comment about asking about men's mental health in schools. I didn't know if we had time to take comments from the audience, but so for me personally, health is very important to me. I didn't grow up. The first thing I do is try to remove the shame, because it's not like we live in a country that promotes healthy practices really in any way. America has a lot of issues in the things that we promote. We like a lot of flashy, shiny diet pill. We don't like real accessible solutions. So remove the shame out of it. I didn't grow up eating healthy at all. I had health problems as an adolescent. It took me to a doctor, finally a GI doctor, after a lot of medications, finally said, do you think what you're eating could be connected to the way that you feel? And I had never put two and two together like that before. Most people don't. It really upsets me when the reason I'm seeing people is because of, like doctor said, when they're at stage 5 kidney disease. I don't want then for it to make sense for you that your health depends on what you put in your body, because we can prevent that. And so it's personal for me, but you know what? It's not hard. That's what I want to tell people. Find ways to fall in love with healthy eating. Okay. There are many ways to prepare food. We do classes at the Center for Wellness in Benton Harbor, free classes on how to show you how to make food healthy for high blood pressure and diabetes. Okay. But because you cannot not eat fruits. You cannot not eat vegetables for men's health. I know we're huge on protein. We want to get big like Akeem over there, okay? But Akeem probably eats vegetables and whole grains, okay? It can't just we can get with each other later, okay? But you know, we have to make room for all foods, and it's not about saying no to culturally relevant foods, to yams, to the occasional chips and cookies. I eat those too. It's really about introducing more foods that'll improve your physical health, your mental health, and just finding ways to really make healthy food fun.
And food can be fun. Even healthy food
Yes.
can be fun. So
Yes.
thank you,
Yes.
Camille. Appreciate
Thank you.
your response to that. Doctor, what does being healthy mean to you personally? And what would happen if our communities of men prioritize their health?
Thank you very much for that closing question, Jerry. In 1948, the World Health Organization actually defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not just the absence of disease. This definition has been revised a couple of times, including as recently as 2024, but hasn't really changed much. Other than over the years, they have progressively embraced the spiritual dimension of health, which reflects in policy documents, even though it may not be explicitly stated in the definition. And what that means is that, I mean, as a physician and as a pastor too, I mean, being healthy means to me taking care of your body. I mean, the body that God has given you. I mean, the body that, I mean, helps you to do things, to be present in your society and your community. Taking care of your mind. I mean, engaging in healthy practices. I mean, avoiding things that are addictive, limiting social media. When you take care of your body, you also limit substances. Camille, I think she hit the nail on the head when she talked about those things. I mean, and also taking care of your spirit and your soul. I mean, to the dimension of your understanding and what's available to you. But just being in tune with yourself, that we as human beings, we're made up of a spirit, a soul, and a body, and making sure we're giving attention to that. And when we are doing that, if a whole community does that, I think, especially men, I think we will raise more leaders in the society, more role models. I think we'll have healthier families, less juveniles in prisons and in juvenile detention centers. And I think we'll have a safer community altogether.
Absolutely. Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate you weighing in. And I will go to Ruth.
Thank you for that closing question. I resonate with what Camille said, which is maybe you didn't come from a background where you were taught how to live healthy, and or maybe you feel like you don't have the financial resources growing up to learn those habits. You can start today. Even if you don't feel like you are financially rich, the greatest wealth that you can have is your health. And so that is much more holistic than having some dollars in your bank account. And really one thing that helped me shift the way that I treat my health and the health of my family is the realization that you can either pay to be healthy on the front end or pay on the back end. But one way or the other, you will pay. And it's a lot cheaper on the front end. And so thank God for social media and all the resources out there where you can learn things that you didn't grow up learning. And you can start that journey of learning how to cook healthy, learning how to be healthy, learning how to live healthy. And I think that as adults, as we continue to, take these steps, I think that we can shift the narrative. We can, leave a legacy to the next generation, and they can leave an even better legacy for the next generation. But when we live on purpose, we enable ourselves to live for our purpose.
Well, I love that. Leave a legacy and live for our purpose. Thank you, Ruth, for those wonderful and powerful words. And I will turn to Akeem. What does being healthy mean to you personally? And what would happen if our community of men prioritize their health?
Yeah, I wrote these down on my phone. So what does healthy mean to me personally? Number one is what I was discussing earlier about not being the spouse who needs the assistance as I get older, as we get older in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm in a plaza where right next to the plaza is a grocery store. I have 3 different places you can go and get food, a pizza joint, sandwiches, and Chinese. Across the street, down the road, there's other places you can go to. So for me, healthy is waking up feeling great. I've had 4 surgeries off of football, right ankle, right knee, right hip, left wrist. And so there's some mornings I wake up, I know I'm not going to feel like 100%, but I want to feel great. That's number one. Number 2 is looking at myself in the mirror and loving the person and the body that I'm living in. That's number 2. Number 3 is, well, going back to the spouse, is not being the spouse that needs assistance as I get old. And number 4 is being able to pick up both of my daughters in both arms and take my annual Father's Day picture until they say I do not want to be picked up anymore. So those are my 4. When it comes to what happened when our men prioritize their health, is everyone gets better. Everyone gets better. And I say that because it's just, when we talk the mental, when we talk the physical, when we talk the emotional side of health, everyone gets better when the man takes care of themselves, prioritizes themselves. The wife sees it, the spouse sees it, the family member sees it, the friend sees it, children, grandchildren. Everyone sees that. And it changes perspectives and beliefs because, like everyone else said, is we didn't have these conversations growing up. You know, I have these conversations with my fellas, with my best friends. I check in on them at least once a month. And I'm having a conversation. Hey, how many times you train this month? How many times you train this week? How's your nutrition? Do you need help? What do you need from me? And that helps them. But they also check in on me too. So I feel that once the man starts prioritizing their health, it makes everyone else around them better. It makes the community better. And it brings down the negative things in life. And I came across this thing I call the dichotomy of life. And the dichotomy of life is what I call, it's what it is every day you wake up is a blessing, yet every day you wake up is one day closer to death. And when people start realizing and taking that serious, I feel and believe wholeheartedly that their life will change 360.
Wow. Love it. Thank you, Akeem. And final, but not lastly, Michael, our final question for the evening. What does being healthy mean to you personally? And what would happen if our community of men prioritize their health?
Well, this is hard and easy, I suppose, right? Because going last, I agree with everybody, right? For me personally, it's all the things holistic, so spiritual, physical, mental, all of that. But then also just being happy with whatever I'm choosing to keep myself healthy, right? Like not being miserable in my church, not being miserable in my home, not being miserable in my exercise or in my nutrition, right? Finding the balance where I'm happy in the choices I'm making, and not making it so difficult that I can't can achieve that health. And then I do agree with, I think it was Akeem that said, everything benefits, right? I mean, if our men are healthier, the home is going to be mentally healthier, more than likely physically happier. The socioeconomics of the home, of the city, of the towns, everything is going to be stronger when we have healthy folks, including healthy men living there.
Thank you so much. Each one of you said wise words and things that I hope resonates with those who are listening. And although we didn't get to every question, that doesn't mean the conversation is over. That means we will have to continue the conversation. So I want to thank our panelists tonight, Akeem, Ruth, Dr. Camille, and Michael. And in closing, I just would like to say that the world of health is a village. Men, you are part of that village. No villager walks alone. The village will walk with you. So until we meet again, find someone that can be part of your village, and let's all seek health together. Thank you and good night from Man Cave Monday.
Thank you. Join us at the 5K next weekend in Benton Harbor, Dad Strong 5K.
You can sign up that morning.
Yes, come sign up. Maybe Jerry will moderate the 5K.
I think we are just waiting for James to end the live broadcast, but truly thank you all. I think there's a part two. There's so